In my first year in university, my Java lecturer loved to torture us with binary operations and operations on binary files. As you can imagine or relate to if you worked with binary files, it was not a very pleasant experience. Fortunately, Java provides us with API that makes our lives as programmers much easier. If you are interested in that, let me introduce you to the serializable interface. What even is serialization? Imagine you are traveling to a different country and you want to take your stuff with you, like clothes and other things. So you can use them in this country. But you can't just take them to the airport and board the plane. You have to convert them into transferable format. So you pack them into a suitcase. Later, when you arrive to your destination, you obviously want to use your stuff. But you can't do that since it's still packed in the suitcase, so you have to unpack it beforehand. This analogy perfectly encapsulates the high-level concept of serialization and deserialization. When you want to save or send your object state to another device, you need to convert it into format that is easy to transport. Serialization is super easy in Java. In some cases, it's almost trivial to implement. You can, as I said, use it to save object state in file or in database. When you want to transfer objects over network, but you should never use serialization when you need cross-language compatibility. For that, you can use JSON or XML, because Java serialization is a language-specific mechanism that is dependent on Java classes. How to serialize an object? Before we even start serialization, we need an object to serialize. So I prepared a simple cat class that has name, age, of course, constructor and getter for those fields, and also a toString override. First step is to add implements serializable to our class. So let's do it. Serializable interface is very unique in Java because we don't have to implement any methods from it. This interface is used to tag our class as being able to be serializable. But you have to remember that static and transient fields won't get serialized. And also some classes from the Java library are not serializable. And I will show you later example how to deal with that later in this video. Okay, now that we have our serializable cat, let's declare him in the main method. So let's cat original cat new cat. Well, let's call him Tom and make him age of 5. Now the next step is to create file output stream, and we will provide him the name of the file that we want to save to. So maybe I will turn off the completions for now, so it won't disturb us. And let's create file output stream, new file output stream, and let's call it cat.ser. .ser is like the file type that is used by the serialization. Next, let's create object output stream. And of course, provide him the file output stream. We have to obviously import this. No, it's already imported, but we have to add exceptions to the method declaration. And for simplicity, I won't use try catch here, I will just add it to the method signature. And finally, we can write our objects. So let's use object output stream, write object, and let's provide original cat. Of course, after we do that, remember to close our streams. And now that we run our program, we can see that it's run without errors, and we can check out the file, and we can see it's not really readable, but we can still see that we have, so for example, age, name, and this is the name of the cat. This is why the serialization might not be the best tool for storing private data like passwords. Now we know how to serialize an object, but what if the object we want to serialize has references to other objects? For example, our cat can have a list of kittens. So let's declare this list. Okay, so private list cats kittens. Of course, let's import it. And in the main method, let's declare some kittens. For example, cat kitten 1, or actually new cat. Let's call him kitten 1, age of 1, and kitten 2. And let's add them to the original cat. Add kitten 1, and kitten 2. And obviously we need a method for that. So let's create a method. And kittens add kitten. But we will call it just kitten, not kitten 1 in this case. Okay, so now that we run our program, we can see that everything works fine. So let's see the file, and we can see that there's like some error list saved here. And we have our kittens here, kitten 1. So everything was saved correctly. And as we can see, everything works out of the box, because Serialize is perfect for storing object graphs. But we have to remember that these objects have to also implement the serializable interface. Speaking of, as I said before, that not every class in Java is serializable. Example of that class is thread, because it's not value-based, but encapsulates process on your PC. Let's test it out. I will declare thread in our cat class, private thread, and I will initialize it in the constructor. New thread, okay. And if we run our program now, we will get some crazy errors, not serializable exception. That is because, of course, our thread doesn't implement the serializable interface. To deal with that, we have to add transient to our thread declaration. So let's do this. Transient, okay. And if we run our program now, it should work. Now that we did the hard part, we can deserialize and read our stored object. First step is to declare object without initialization. So let's do it. Let's do cat, copy cat. If you are creating a separate program that will run on other machine, you have to remember to implement serializable interface and make class representing this object identical to the one in the original program, because it won't work otherwise. Of course, if you're writing one program, we are using the same class, so it won't be a problem. After declaring our object, we need to declare and initialize the file input stream and object input stream, because now we are reading from a file, not writing to it. So let's do it. File input stream, new file input stream, of course cat.ser, object input stream. Okay, let's do it. And now we can initialize our copycat with read object. So let's do it. Copycat equals object input stream read object. But why is it red? Our read object, as the name suggests, returns object, not cat. So the compiler doesn't know it should be cat. So to deal with that, we just cast it as cat. And now it works. Okay, so let's check it out. And maybe to test it, let's, for example, now our original cat, print it, original. Okay, and of course we need to close it first of all and print our copycats. So copy equals copycat, okay. And if we run our program, we can see that these two guys are identical, except for the thread part, because thread will be null, since, of course, it's not serialized. So when reading from the serialized file, we won't read the value for thread. I said before that if we work in different programs that have to communicate, the classes need to be identical for the serialization to work. But how does Java know if a class is identical? For that, Java uses something called serial version UID. By default, it's generated by the compiler, and we can actually look it up by using this method. So system.out.print and object stream class lookup copycat get class, and after that get serial version UID. Okay, and that is the ID. And if we run our program a few times, we can see that it's actually still the same. It only will change if we add something new to our class. So for example, let's add some string, private string, a string. And if we run our program again, we can see that it's now different. Actually, I lied to you. There's another way to change this serial version, and it is by obviously declaring it ourselves. And we can do that by creating private static, and this UID is of type long, so we create long, and we obviously need to add final because it won't change, and we'll call it serial version UID. And I will declare it in a second, but yeah, we need to declare it first because I wanted to show something else. And it can have any value you want. We can just like spam our thing here. There's some problem. Integer number too large. Yeah, yes, because we have to add L. And we can see that there's like some squiggly lines here because we can actually add annotation, serial here, that will tell our compiler that this is part of the serialization system. And now if we run our program, we can see that it's the same serial as we declared. If you read the documentation of Java or just like go into classes here, you can see probably that most of them will have something like this declared by hand. And if you want to learn more about Java, check out my full playlist. Until the next time, create some amazing applications.